Okay, welcome to the other side of normal, Tuesday edition. I am joined by Angie from Angie Spiritual Readings. Welcome, Angie. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. And also, I'll give a shout out to the team that I'm on. I'm also with War Party Paranormal.
Awesome. Well, I got to write that down to make sure that we're following them. Awesome. So, see, you're in Jupiter, Florida, right?
Yes.
Awesome. How's the weather down there today?
Um, so hot. It's miserable hot. But yeah, hot.
So I'm in Pittsburgh, and it was like 92 today, but the relative temperature was like 107.
Yeah, we're right there too. We had
It's
like 80
gross.
something percent humidity.
Yeah,
It's miserable.
just gross.
Yeah,
But it's not snow, and I'll take it.
that's right. It's not snow. I'll take it too.
I don't like the snow, and I keep saying as I get older, I've had enough. So far, my sister Donna is on. She's joined us.
Hi, Donna.
My Donna. And Anime is one of my very, very longtime friends. We worked together in, I don't know, four or five or six different places. And she follows us, and she's used to be afraid to watch any ghost show on TV, and now she watches them all.
Okay. Well, interesting fact, I don't. I
You
watch
don't watch any of
very
the
few
shows?
paranormal shows on TV, and mostly it's because most of them are a little sensationalized, let's
Oh,
say.
oh, yes, a lot.
So I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of picky about what I watch. One of the teams that I watch, and I think both of them watch, is the Foreman brothers. Um, they're YouTube based, and I believe them to be very good guys and more into it for the right reasons.
That's
Um,
important.
of course, they're I'm sure they're making money if they have a lot of followers. Um, but I believe them to be sincere in what they're doing. Um, so that's
There's no
that's one of the
shame in
reasons I
making
follow.
money as long as you're
Right,
doing it with integrity.
right, and I believe them to be the right kind of guys. And another group I watch on YouTube is Paranormal Quest. Ryan and Dave. They are very down to earth guys, um, and also don't fake anything. You
Right.
might as well just say it.
Just say it.
We enjoy
Yeah.
we enjoy Project Fear. They definitely overact everything, but it's enjoyable. So I'm like, what the heck, I don't know if
Right.
they're faking anything or not, but they've got that stupid PS device that I have, and I can't get it to give me one single word that is even relevant. And they get all these words, and I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and there's our buddy
Oh,
Shadow.
hi, Shadow.
Shadow, thanks for
I
joining
know
me.
Shadow.
You know Shadow?
I do.
Shadow's a great guy. Yes, he's been following us for a while and always pops on my lives, and he jumps on our podcast and he shares our stuff, and what a great guy.
Yep.
What a great guy. So, Angie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are, and just whatever you want to get out there.
Okay. Well, I am a lead investigator with War Party Paranormal. I also run my own metaphysical based business in Jupiter called Angie Spiritual Readings, where I work with many different forms of divination. And I also work with mediumship. I help clients speak to people who have passed on. So that's primarily what I do. I also wrote a book that's been out for about a year now. And, um, I say that I never started out. This wasn't a journey that I had planned on. Um, it's really one that I fought against for a very, very long time. I didn't, um, I just wanted to be like everybody else. I just wanted to be normal. I just wanted to blend in and, you know, I just wanted to exist in a life that didn't make me feel isolated. And that's kind of how I felt when I leaned more into my empathic, my mediumship kind of, well, she's the freak that talks to dead people. I, nobody wants to be that person. No one wants to be, you know, pointed at or ridiculed. So, um, my story kind of existed over many, hard to say decades, but yeah. And then during my second near death experience, I kind of came out of the coma that I was in and just somehow knew that my life was going to be different, even though I didn't and still don't know a lot about what happened during this illness period and this time that I was in the hospital. I just knew that everything was different. Things smelled different, things tasted different. I knew things with such force that I couldn't say, nah, I'm good. It was relentless and it was powerful and it was confusing. And, I kind of say that it was like I was watching 100 different movies at the same time in fast forward and reverse. I knew that there was something that I needed to know, but I couldn't figure out what it was. Um, so I decided that perhaps I had lost oxygen to my brain for a long period of time, and that really I was suffering from some sort of now mental deficiency. And I kind of leaned into that because I thought that was safer. But while I kind of leaned into that, I knew that there was no way. So I started seeking out people that I thought would offer me guidance or understanding or at least some sort of acceptance. And through that, I wound up working with what I consider to be incredibly talented people, all in kind of different fields. I worked with some really fantastic spiritual advisors, some really fantastic tarot card readers, never sharing my story, just kind of blending into the network that they had already created. And then one day I'm scrolling mindlessly through social media and I found a post for War Party Paranormal that they were hosting an event. And I thought, well, my gosh, if anybody can figure out what's wrong with me, it's going to be them. So I went to their event. Nobody saw me, nobody heard me. And I was kind of disappointed because I was telepathically yelling at them to see me and it didn't work. So scrolling again about a month later, I see that they were hosting an event to recruit members. I thought, well, I can certainly do this. But my goal going into was actually to prove that all of the things that had happened to me and all the premonitions and all the information that I was getting and all the things that were true that there was no way that I knew was all just a fluke. I joined the group to really be proved wrong. And during that time, it kind of, I don't even know when it switched, but somehow my mission kind of switched to leaning into, maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe this is something. And like I said, I kind of at that time felt that it'd be much easier for it to be nothing and I could take a pill and then, magically be, better and normal again. And then I really leaned into the paranormal team and I felt that I belonged. And that was a unique experience for me after, again, decades of feeling like I was living on the outskirts of normalcy.
That's
And
wild.
that's kind of where my paranormal journey began. And people say to me all the time, "Oh, do you know who blah blah is?" And blah blah. No, I never watch a show.
Mhm.
I did not know that paranormal investigation existed until that first event that I went to. No
Crazy.
idea. It was something that
Wow.
I just didn't know about. So, you know, hundreds and hundreds of investigations later, here I am.
So
Yeah,
the universe wants what the universe wants, right?
the universe will insist on getting what it wants. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always say I felt like I was being hit with a brick day after day after day, and it was saying, "Are you this dumb?" I mean, we're trying to be clear here. You know, I often say that my spirit guides at that time were chain smoking Marlboro Reds and shooting tequila shots, you know, pulling out the hair, going, "How could she not get this?" And I'm over here, la la
Oh,
la. I don't want to get it.
that is crazy.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to somebody that has been maybe having things happen to them uh, that's kind of pointing them toward mediumship, but they have no idea of what to do, asking for a friend?
Okay. You know, that's just as simple as it is complex, meaning that for me, the biggest thing for me is always to keep myself protected from an onslaught of any kind of negative energy because negative energy can affect everything that we do and the way we feel, sleep, blah.
Yep.
So, my thing is first, trust your gut. It's never going to lie. Your instincts will never lie to you. The only time your instincts are wrong is when you second guess them. So I always say take a temperature check first. If this doesn't feel good to you, send it away. Tell it, nope, not today. I can't do this. I don't want this to be a part of my life. If it feels good to you, even if a little scary is okay. But if it feels good to you, welcome it in, say, just sit quietly. You know, sitting quiet is the most underrated thing
Oh, yeah.
in this whole field. Just sit quietly. The answers are there. They're just a lot of times here. And we're sitting here trying to ignore them.
Hmm.
So, for your friend, believe yourself because the world.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There you
Oh,
go. Okay, you froze.
okay.
You froze for a second. So I'll tell you what happened. This is just a total off the wall fluke that just after it happened, it blew my mind. There was a lady that lived across the street, and there's David Alcorns. Um, he David. Um, she was somebody I've never met before. Got invited over, sitting there talking to this lady. She asked me about being a veteran and this and that and the other. She told me her son was a veteran, and when he got out of the service, he had some health issues. Well, it actually turns out that one day he came home from work at I think it was 35 years old and just dropped dead of a heart attack the minute he walked in the house. Um, and so I am not a touchy person, right? I keep to myself. I expect others to keep to themselves. Don't touch me. Leave me alone. Blah blah blah. And I'm sitting there talking to this lady, and the next thing I know, I'm sitting there and I'm holding her hand, and I'm talking to her, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this is really weird because I don't do things like this, right? And she's talking to me, and she's telling me about her son, Tony this and Tony that, and how much she loved Tony, blah blah blah. And into my head pops Anthony. And so I looked at her, I said, Anthony. And she looked at me, she said, what did you just say? I said, Anthony. I said, he doesn't want you to call him Tony. And she's like, no, he doesn't want me to call, but how do you know that? And I'm like, I really don't know, right? So this we're keep going on in a deeper discussion, and her daughter was there as well. And all of a sudden, I'm talking about, oh, there's some kind of a fight in the family. Did you guys have a fight? Oh yeah, we had a big fight. Well, Tony's not mad at you. I don't know this stuff, right?
Yep.
Well, and they're both bawling because Tony. They're glad to hear Tony's not mad at them, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's another sister, and she's just looking at me like I got six heads. She's like, yeah, she lives in another state. How do you know this? And I'm like, Anthony. is telling me this. Well, then it was, the sister that was there. I'm like, oh, you're the one that started the problems with the family, and that she just lost it. She broke down. She said, I did. I'm like, well, Anthony wants you to go see your sister, make up. I mean, this whole thing went on for like 45 minutes to an hour, maybe even longer. And I'm sitting out there with this sister or the daughter. I'm holding her hand and I'm telling, comforting her, and everything's going to be okay. And when I was done, I was like just wiped out, and my head is spinning. I'm like, what the hell just happened, right? So I come in and I call people that I know, right? A guy, a lead investigator from a team. Try to get a hold of him. He wouldn't answer. I call the psychic from the group. She finally answered. She talked to me a little bit. She's like, go to the lowest floor in the house. I'm like, and sit on the floor. And I'm like, well, that's where I'm at right now. And my big ass doesn't sit on the floor, but I was sitting on the floor. She's
Right.
like, you got to ground yourself, envision yourself a tree and roots growing out of your ass and all this stuff. So, and she did. She helped me get grounded down. And then the first guy called me back and he helped me through it a little bit. And I'm like, cool. Well, then after that, for like 3 or 4 nights in a row, as I go to sleep, I'm getting, hey, hey. And it was Anthony. He's like punching me in the chest, like, hey. And I'm like, no. But he wasn't going away.
Nope.
And I guess I resisted him long enough. I'm like, this, no, you can't just barge in. Another friend I know is like, oh, he punched a hole through you. You've got to close that up. And I'm like, I know what the hell you're talking about, right? So anyway, we get through it. And then it just kind of freaked me out. And I'm like, I'm not sure I want to, I don't want this, just like you, I don't want this, right? So anytime I get something, I kind of block it out. Another time, we were going to a place for an investigation, and 3 nights in a row, something would come to me. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. And it would give me one word every night. And I think it was, we're waiting for you or something. I'm like, what is this crap? Well, then the other occurrence that happened, I guess is something totally different, right? But we're going to this house, the Bill Manor in Ohio, and the guy's giving us a tour through the house, and we're standing in front of a bathroom door, and he's telling us the history of the house and blah blah blah. And he says, this wasn't always a bathroom; it used to be a bedroom. And I turned and looked at him, and I said, yeah, I remember that. He looked at me, and he's like, what? And I'm like, I didn't say that. He's like, it came out of your mouth. I'm like, it did, but I didn't say that. And I was just like blown away. I'm like, what in the? I've never been there before. How would I know that was a bedroom? And so I have things like this have happened. And now recently, I'll tell you this too, with the exception of this weekend, the last 3 times I've gone somewhere, I've started getting like ill. Like I leave the house because I feel like I'm going to throw up. And I did talk to somebody, and they're like, gave me the whole imagine yourself as an old store, and you've got the close sign up. That's your close marker that they can't bother you. And I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
And I think it helped this time, but it's all so new to me, and I've really have been like, no, no, no. I like me how I am, and I don't need to talk to dead people directly. Um, but I just feel like it's for a reason, and it may be not be today, but somebody's going to want to use me either to get information from me to somebody else, or just give me some information that I need to use. Whatever it might be, I just feel like there's a reason for it. So I'd have to start kind of, I don't want to say opening up, because that's why everybody tells me I'm getting sick, is I just go in there wide open, and because I don't know any better, right? Well, maybe I do now, but um, it's just so weird how things happen, and like you said, it messes with your mind, and you know what the hell.
Well, let me tell you what, more important than, the opening up thing is the knowing how to close down. period.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
don't know how to say, these are my hours, and you can only bother me during this time unless there's an emergency.
Mhm.
You know, I recently moved, but the house that I lived in for the last 26 years was haunted. I always knew it was haunted. That's okay. They live here. I'm ignoring you. You live over there. I'll live over here. You know, once everything started to happen and I became more comfortable with it, you know, I always knew my grandfather was there. I didn't consider that haunted. That's just my grandfather. But
That's yeah.
then more kind of people decided that they would stop by because they have someone that will listen. And I kind of worked out my own system inside my house. I had a series of three wind chimes. One was light, one was medium heavy, and one was super heavy. If you just want me to acknowledge you, you just tinkle on that light wind chime. There was no air conditioner around, nothing could affect them and it was over my altar, so they were protective. Just tinkle on it. If you need to have a conversation, go ahead and touch that middle one. And if this is an emergency, go ahead and hit that heavy one. The heavy one never went off. The light
Hmm.
one, the very lightweight one, it would go off kind of regularly. And I would stop what I was doing and say, is there something that you need my attention? Because other than that, the rule was I'm off duty. Otherwise, you don't sleep. You start getting delirious. And that's when you start saying, no, no, I don't want to do this because I need a break from you. The minute spirit energy knows that you can hear them, it's like you've opened up the stadium and it can get really busy in there. And you're trying to honor it, but you can't honor everyone. You just can't. There's not enough hours in the day. So I kind of developed that system. But, you know, to speak with what you were talking about, the sickness, yeah, been there. Also didn't know.
Yeah.
And I got myself in some situations that put me through. I mean, I had what I describe as a paranormal drug overdose.
Wow.
I was in a situation, I'm like, yeah, come on, I'll talk to anybody. Next thing I know, I'm sick, I'm sweating, I'm everything that once lived inside my body rapidly left. In the middle of this investigation, I was having, that's the only way I can describe it. I was experiencing this overdose from this spirit energy, and I didn't know what to do. It was my first time ever, you know, experiencing something that intensely. And then I was like, "Ah, okay. So now, you know, I have a dial. Every day we keep it on about two because I want my spirit guides to be able to tell me I'm on a paranormal investigation. It's maybe going to go to eight. I'm not opening that puppy all the way. It's not going to 11. You know, I'm not doing that anymore because that resulted in me being very sick
Yeah.
and taking a while to recover.
Yes. That's that, and I think that was my problem was that well, I didn't know any better, and ignorance is not an excuse, but you don't know what you don't know, and but you better find out, right?
That's right. And that's exactly where I was. I didn't know what I didn't know. And next thing I know, I'm in the bushes losing every part of everything in my body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So and you know Irene's on here, and hi Irene. Um,
Hi.
I have always been kind of I don't like to use the word afraid, maybe intimidated of people with these capabilities, right? Um, and my first few experiences with people that told me that they were mediums or that they were psychics, uh, when they
Charlatans.
would like right like so when you know this one girl that was on a team that I was on, she went through. We were on an investigation, and we were new to the group, and she went around and she was doing a reading on everybody. First of all, I didn't ask her a reading, so don't read me. But
Right.
she says, "Oh, I'm going to do you now," and I just kind of sat there and looked at her like, you know, I didn't ask you for this, but whatever. And she come up with, "Oh, you want everybody to think you're this great big tough guy." Now, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2". I'm about 330 pounds. I'm not a little person, but I am one of the nicest. most approachable people you'll ever meet. Okay, I don't put on any airs. She's like, "Oh, you want everybody to think you're this big tough guy, and you're not even close to a tough guy." And she went on and on. And when she was done, I looked at the person to my right, and I'm like, "Is that who I am?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Okay." That told me all I needed to know about this girl. Now,
Hmm.
maybe, and I didn't think about this time, I didn't want to be really want to be read because it's not her business. Maybe I was like putting the boxing gloves up, right? Like back off, lady. And and so maybe, I took her wrong, right? I could accept that there was some fault of mine in there, but you should I don't think you should ever just go say I'm going to read somebody without their approval, right? I mean,
I agree.
isn't that just
It's an evasion of
right?
somebody's privacy. And you've seen some of the shows where they're wandering through the grocery store and say, "Oh, I have to." Yeah. No, I would never do that unless there was some sort of imminent danger that I felt like I needed to warn them about. But
Yes.
no, 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 I would
And
never do that. It's
I
not
felt
my business.
violated, right? And so the other part of this is, again, I just told you I'm a veteran. I was in a war. I was in Iraq way back in the 90s. My best friend in the world died in my arms in that war. Okay. And I saw a lot of other things over there that I don't want to share with people. And I certainly don't want to have somebody just randomly pop in and see what I see on a daily basis. I'm protecting them from this, right? I mean, it's just I have to deal with it, and I know how hard it is for me to deal with it. Why should you have to deal with it? So I'm not being selfish and saying, you know, well, yeah, I'm staying out of my business if I didn't ask you, but I'm also protecting you from having to see what the hell I've seen because if you see that, you may not handle it very well.
And I get that. And part of what I do, I've seen some really horrible things through clients. Not just my personal, but through clients. I've seen some
Mhm.
really horrific deaths. I've seen some really awful things. And part of what I do is also the same thing is almost like closing yourself down after you've done something. I have to, it's not mine to own. So most of the time when I do a reading, even when I'm on a paranormal investigation and I'm picking up stuff from the location that we're on, I usually keep someone with me that whatever comes out of my mouth, it's her job to remember because it's not my thought, so it doesn't always stay here. It's like it comes in here, out my mouth, and then it's done because I don't own it. But that's also very difficult because I know there are times where I relive scenarios for weeks. And so, yeah, I get what you're saying, but for the most part, also a tool that has to be developed over time that no, this is your energy, it's yours. I can't hold it because it doesn't belong to me. And as far as just
That's
coldly reading,
that's really good.
no, no. And even relationships, romantic relationships or friendships, that brings you to a whole nother level. I personally, and I don't know how it works for anybody else because I've only ever been me. Once I've entered into a relationship that is more than just a casual friendship kind of thing, unless you're in danger, I can't get to you unless you give me permission. It's none of my business what you're thinking. I can't invade your privacy just because I am who I am. If you're going through something empathically, I certainly will know that. Can I read that energy? Yes. But it's none of my business if you're feeling bad about yourself or if you're questioning something about our relationship. No need for us both to freak out. You freak out, and then if you have a problem,
Yeah.
come see me. But, I have called my boyfriend at the time and said to him, I said, you learn to pick up your feet. He said, how did you know? He had totally just tripped something over something. Okay, that doesn't matter in the concept of a relationship. The other stuff
Yes.
does. If he went missing, I could find him. Very confident that I could find him. I have found other people that were missing. So confident in that, but intimate personal thoughts, none of my business. unless you're asking me for something. Other than that, no, it's rude.
And that's exactly how I took that one. Um, and then so of course, being that it was it, it was actually my first experience, and the second experience I had was with another one the same night when something happened, and I had no idea what happened. And now I believe that something physically walked through me in that house. The psychic that I was with, she was like, "What happened?" And the way she said it, it just really ticked me off. And I looked at her, I'm like, "I don't know. You're the psychic. You tell me." And obviously that was not the right thing to say. But from what I was going through at that moment, that's the best I could do. And she also turned out to be not what she claimed to be. So those are my
Right.
first two interactions with people that said they have these abilities, and I'm just like, man, you know, are they all like? Is everybody like this? And I'll tell you that in the last 2 weeks, I have met some of the coolest people that are mediums that, just like you are sitting here explaining to me a little bit about what it is you do and how you do it, and the rules behind it. And the more I see is I was exactly right on these two and where they were coming from, and it just wasn't something that I was even going to open my mind to because, well, two for two, you're garbage, and I don't believe what you're going to tell me. Um,
Right.
Now somebody that's a paranormal investigator, you're supposed to have an open mind, and for me to
Yeah.
have a closed mind on that, it kind of bothered me. I went to an event a couple weeks ago where I went doing the podcast, and the lady that set the whole thing up, every one of her guest speakers, she set aside time for me to talk to them. Some were
Nice.
mediums, some were owners of paranormal places, and I mean it was really cool. One was the guy that plays Jason Voorhees in the movies, and that was freaking amazing, James Stokes. But I got 15 or 20 minutes with all these people, and it just has just totally changed my entire outlook. Now, I already had you scheduled before this,
Okay.
and so in my mind, I'm thinking, "Hey, how do I approach this? What am I going to do? And the answers all came to me before we even got here, right? I just told you that I met all these
Right.
people, and just because maybe I don't totally believe in something, I'm not going to be rude to anybody, or I'm not going to say, "Well, I don't believe you." I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to see it. I want my eyes to be open. Um, but I had the opportunity to meet some of the coolest people, and Irene that's on here, she is one of them, and she was just the sweetest lady you've ever met, and just really, really helped me change my mindset. And I
When I
I just
joined,
think it's awesome.
yeah, when I joined War Party Paranormal, now keep in mind, they didn't believe me either. They didn't believe that I was a psychic. They didn't believe that I could talk to dead people for the very reason that you have. So many people had claimed all these things and joined the group, but could not ever be validated. Nothing they said ever kind of lined up.
Yeah.
So when I joined the group, I didn't know they didn't believe me. I just knew I wasn't really sure what I was doing. Um, so John and Scotty's no longer with us. John is still he's the co-founder. He put me through the ringer for 3 years
Wow.
before he ever said, and then, even then, he called me the paranormal bloodhound. If
Yeah.
something's going on, she'll find it. And that was primarily in regards to residential cases that he said that if it's going on, she's going to find it. But 3 years, and they put me in circumstances where they already knew the story, but I didn't. They set me up on residential cases that weren't legitimate cases to see if I would just invent something. They put me through it 3 years in my book. And he's read my book and he knows I call him, he was such a jerk. But that jerkiness, him insisting that I prove myself, forced me to prove myself to myself. I had to believe enough in me. And I'm kind of glad that he didn't just take me at face value, that he made me understand how to trust myself. Because again, I walked into a residential and I was so scared to come and say to him, I don't think anything's going on here. I think they made this up. I don't feel anything. And then for him to go, that's because there is nothing. And I'm like, whew, I just thought okay, I lost it. I don't have anything to say. We'll just go ahead and I'll wait in the car, you know? So he really put me through it. And he is one of my biggest supporters, a dear
Mm.
friend, and has pulled me out of circumstances that I didn't even know I was in. At Waverly, for example, I was deep into, an Estes session and I didn't even know I needed to be pulled out. And he's like, you're out. So he allowed me to grow with such a great level of understanding of who I am that he's got my back, period. And it's a great relationship. And but without him challenging me every step of the way, I think I probably would have surrendered. I wanted to prove myself to him so bad because he was such a jerk that it made me fight for myself. Yeah.
That's
So
really wild. I think I'd have been like, oh, if you don't believe in me at all, then what am I even doing here? I mean, that's what would be going through my head. Is like, why do you want me here if you don't believe me?
because he never overtly told me he didn't believe me. He never said, I think you're full of it. It took him a long time to even tell me that he didn't believe me, that his goal was to challenge me and to prove to me and to
Wow,
prove that I was the charlatan, just like the other people that had tried to join the group. And, then everything's demonic, everything, you know, sorry, I can be a little dramatic
no,
sometimes.
I love it. That's
you know, and you go in there and to me, I use demonic just to prove my point. You don't ever hear me say that word in an investigation or anything else. I use that energy is a little negative or that energy is a little off my comfort zone, not a judgment, just my comfort zone. I've never come across something that I thought, oh, hi,
what's up,
that
Ryan.
I thought was pure evil. Never, never. Now, whether
And
that's I'm too protected to feel that, I don't know, but I'm good with that.
I think 99.9% of the people will say exactly that if they have to tell the truth, right?
Yeah.
Most people will never meet these demons, and okay, here's my rhetorical question for everybody. Why is a demon hanging out in an abandoned building where nobody goes? Come on. If you're this big, strong demon, why would you hang out in an abandoned building? You would want to take over the world. You want to be out torturing people. No, you're
I'm
going to
going to
hide
swoop
in the
up some
dark.
souls, man. I'm
Yeah,
swooping up the souls.
right. What are
I'm
you getting in
collecting
an
the blood of
abandoned
my
building?
enemy and the skulls of my evil. Yeah.
You're just
Listen,
collecting spiders and eating cockroaches. Come on. No.
do I believe that there is absolutely beautiful, positive, amazingly nothing but love and light energy? Yeah. Are you and I ever going to see it? Probably not.
Right. Right.
So goes for the counter of that.
Right. It doesn't
I,
mean it's not there. It just means we're not going to see it.
that's right. That's right. I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of things that we will never see that exist. So, collectively, if everyone that group them all together and no one has ever seen it to that extent, I mean, come on. What are the possibilities? What are the odds? you know.
So
And I've
I can
worked
tell
with some
you.
people who have books out, who have written. I've worked with demonologists. I have. I've not seen it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I just haven't seen it.
So there's on the chat here, Mars Bear is on. Now I believe this is Ashley, Mars' daughter. Um, but Mars is somebody that if you want an interesting conversation, he'll give you some great interesting conversations. Um, he tells me that he's half demon, half human, that he astral travels. I mean, he's got me out of a couple really bad situations over the last 2 years, and I have no reason to doubt anything he's ever told me. So there's
Hmm.
somebody that's we had an interaction about a month ago maybe with a spirit in a location that was never had never been in this location before, and the spirit was just like being really nasty, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden I'm being choked out. Right now, first of all, I'm as stubborn as a damn mule. Okay, you can choke me, and I'm going to sit there probably until I took my last breath because I'm not just going to back away and say you win. Right, and that's where I was. I mean, I was not doing well, and I should have backed away. Um, and so we were doing a live when this happened, and Mars is on there, and he says to me, I'm sending, and I don't even know the name. I'm sending so and so a certain demon to help you. He's going to take this spirit. He's going to take care of it. And then he wrote, Lucifer's cage is open, and I am like choking to death. And I look at it, the words on my screen, right? And I've got two friends with me that are already really concerned about me, and one is starting to walk toward me to try to take me out of the building. And I look at the screen and I said, and Lucifer's cage. And the guy stopped in his tracks and he starts backing up. He's like, what the heck? He thought I was possessed or something. I don't know.
Right.
And so then this spirit we were having a battle with called me a bitch, and I called it a bitch back in the best voice that I had. And then it went to say something, and it said something, and then there was a pause, and you heard a oh, like somebody got punched in the stomach, and there was no more from this spirit the rest of the night. So when he said he was sending so and so to take care of it, and he was putting in Lucifer's cage to torture him, it stopped. So I have no reason to not believe because he followed through with exactly what he said, right?
Right.
Another instance
Absolutely.
was we did a double Estes in a church over here in Fredonia, PA. Me and my buddy Damon, we did a double Estes, and we did it on a live. Well, the live was over. We were just standing there talking about it, and it's just me and Damien talking. Nobody else is around. No cameras rolling. Nothing like that. We're just talking. We're describing the person we saw during this Estes, and we saw the same person. 5 minutes later, I get a message from Mars. Hey, the person you're communicating with is this, and he tells me the name, and then he sends me a picture, and I'm like, my God, it's exactly who we just described.
Hmm.
He had no way to know that, right? So again, he lives in Melbourne, Australia. I've never met him. We chat every day, uh, many times a day, um, because I'm really intrigued about what he can do and what he sees and who he knows, and uh, but to me it's mind blowing, right? I mean, wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
And being able to
people can
tap
tell
into
me
somebody
anything
else's
they want.
energy. I'm sorry?
You people can tell you anything they want, but once they back it up with proof, not once, not twice. I mean, even if you back it up once, that's good. But now I have several reasons to believe everything that he says is true because holy crap. I mean, you're
Absolutely.
how I don't even know how many miles away, right? And this is going on. Whoa.
Absolutely. And tapping into somebody's energy and being able to not only know what they're feeling energetically, but to see what they're seeing. That's an amazing, skillful, practiced, trust your instincts level that
Yep.
I- bravo, because it's
Yeah.
hard to
Yeah.
get to have that much trust in yourself where and I think I think the hardest thing, at least again in my experience for me, is the fear of being wrong sometimes makes you filter. That's the hardest thing to
Yeah.
get past
Yeah.
and to not filter, which is exactly why in your experience, when you said something about it used to be the bedroom, and you're like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It was when I was here. If you had filtered, if you had had a second to filter that, you never would have said it.
Nope. Nope.
And the non-filtered responses are the only ones that are truly genuine.
Yeah.
I have said some of the stupidest things. And as they're coming out of my mouth, I'm going, this is the stupidest thing that I've ever said. But just because it didn't make sense to me doesn't mean it didn't make sense to the client that I was working with or to somebody that I was speaking to or the location. And so no filter. That's the only way to kind of go in. Just mouth, you know.
Yeah.
No no
I'm not
thought
good at
about
that.
it.
I'm not very good at that. I try to pick my words carefully. Um, and that's, and I know that that is always going to be an issue for me because I don't want to upset somebody. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to offend somebody. And boy, is it easy to offend people now. But I just I don't want to say the wrong thing. And at that moment, when that happened, it legitimately wasn't me saying that. That was somebody else saying it, and I know that because it surprised me when it came out of my mouth. I'm like, what? What? And it just stayed in my head all night, right? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. Listen, I've said words that I don't even know. So I get it. I've said things that I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know this word. But they're shooting out of my mouth somehow.
Yeah.
So, and they're like, oh yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I'm like, good, because I don't even know what it means. You know? So yeah, I get it. I get it.
So, have you ever? And somebody told me the story a couple weeks ago, and so everybody that I've met since, and I asked this question: have you ever ruined somebody's surprise of a birthday party, upcoming proposal, a surprise gift, anything like that? You just totally ruined the surprise, not on
Yeah.
purpose, but just
Yeah.
because it was there. And
Yeah. All the time.
how bad does that make you feel?
Well, usually it's mine. Usually you can't surprise me.
And
Uh,
that's what
Yeah.
Irene told me was she's always ruining her stuff.
Yeah. And again, when it becomes more to get the nuances of it. Something's up, but it's not your business to invade their privacy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've done it. I knew something was up, so I was, my spidey senses were tingling, and I'm like, yeah, you're not going to pull one over on me. When really, it's not pulling one over. Just relax. But no, no, I'm like, yeah, no, something's up. And because you don't know the nuances of it, and because by nature we're cynical and suspicious, and we want to get to the bottom of something that doesn't make sense energetically, we'll figure it out. We're going to keep going until we figure it out. So, yeah, all the time. I suck.
Oh, that's and see
Yeah.
that's I would. That's something I feel like I would always worry about. Saying the wrong thing, uh, passing a message that somebody on that side wants somebody else to hear, but that person's not ready to hear it. Because you don't know how it's going to affect them, and it's things I worry about that I maybe shouldn't worry about because I'm nowhere near that point. But I'm always trying to think forward, and I'm like, holy crap! What if somebody gives me a message to give to so and so, and then they don't want it? So
It
this
will
is my
never
biggest
happen.
fear.
It will never
My
happen.
buddy,
It
my
will
buddy
never
that died
happen.
in my arms. I am so afraid somebody's going to give him a message to give to me, and I don't want to hear it. Right? That is my fear. So I'm afraid of that for somebody else. I'm like, what if they don't want to know that? Or what if they can't handle hearing that?
I'm going to say this to you, and I say this with as much love and respect for the struggle. You will never be given something that you're not prepared to hear or know. And as long as every message is given with love, kindness, compassion, you will never give a message that's not ready to be heard. Yes, it might hit them in a way, but that's just an adjustment period that everyone needs to go through. When I do mediumship with my clients, we're all crying
Mm,
in a good way, in a bad way. I feel the emotion, I feel the love. It's overwhelming. I could start out with makeup and it's down my face and the tissue. It does. We are ready to receive it. When you get it for someone, they're ready to receive it, even if it feels uncomfortable at the moment. Nobody, no spirit guides, no person who has passed on is going to give you a message to give to somebody else that's intentionally hurtful. I need you to know this. When I first started working individually with clients, it was not my goal. I'm going to do some tarot, I'm going to do a little empath work. I had never met so many people that had questions about someone who died, whether it's suicide or accidental overdoses. Client after client, it seemed like all of a sudden the universe said, she's the one that's going to get you where you need to go. I had to say things to them that were uncomfortable for everybody. And I said it through tears, but I said it with love, and they needed to hear what they needed to hear. And even and listen, fortunately most of the time it was not intentional, but they didn't care.
mm,
So unintentional, intentional kind of situations, but you still have to portray that, you still have to give that to someone. And are we going to cry? I mean, yeah, it's ugly cry sometimes
oh yeah.
too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't prepared for that information at all, but I knew that I was given it. So it was my duty and my obligation to then pass that on. And sometimes the messages are hard, and sometimes the messages are funny. Again, said some really stupid stuff, and sometimes they're informative. But it's not for us to decide what's valid or what's important. If it's given to you, it's given to you for a reason.
Okay.
All you can do is pass it on with love, respect, understanding, empathy, and in a way that says, listen, I'm hurting for you too. We'll all cry together. It's okay.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I'm writing more notes.
Okay.
No, that it does. It makes a lot of, and again, ignorance is no excuse, but you don't know what you don't know, and that's a lot of why I do this because I would guess that most of the people that are on here watching have no clue about this either. So that's why we do this, it's to learn
Yeah. And,
and
we're
to get
all,
people to meet people. Right.
yeah. And, everybody's, even though there's a lot of similarities in everything that we do, th- as many similarities as there are, there's 10,000 differences. in the way we receive information, the visuals that we get, the feelings that we get. So when I hear other people talk and they bring something up, I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. Interesting concept. And then I put it is in here with all the other crazy stuff that's floating around. And eventually it filters itself into something that I understand. Because there are a lot of people that talk way above me. And I'm like, well, I've never experienced that. So I put it in somewhere and until it becomes part of what I'm comfortable with energetically. So I love to hear other people's experiences as well. It helps me figure stuff out because I still get confused even after years of doing this and hundreds of clients and investigations. I don't still always know how to process through something that's a little weird or a little off or a little unusual.
Yeah. Oh, we finally got a question.
Oh, yay.
When you do a reading, do you know anything about the person asking for a reason, asking for a reading?
No, if it's not one of my regular clients, obviously. Just this weekend, I had two clients do a Google search and ask if they could come and see me. I didn't even know their names when they sent me the message. I didn't know their names until they got there. When I'm doing a reading, especially if it's a mediumship reading, I don't want to know anything about anybody. I don't even want to know who you're trying to contact. The only time I'll ask is if too many people come forward, then I will ask to narrow it down. Because some people, the minute you say, okay, then it's again, Coliseum, you know, when I'm doing an investigation, a residential, I don't even know the address before we go. I usually would get picked up or get an address right with enough time for me to get there. I want to know nothing. I don't want any information that's going to, because that's where the failures come in.
Dramatic pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
So I
cut
don't want to
out.
know anything.
You cut out there for just a second.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. I don't want to know anything. I like to go in with nothing. You're welcome, Donna. I hope that helped.
uh, awesome. So you said something earlier um, about when you first started this, you would start talking to somebody, and then all these others would just gather because they want somebody to talk to as well. And so this leads back to a theory of mine, which I have no basis on the theory other than it's what it is in my head, right?
Yeah.
And so we always used to talk on our podcast about we always had questions that we asked people, and my question was, do you believe cemeteries are haunted, and then why? And so we would always get all these different things. And at first, I didn't believe that cemeteries could be haunted, right? Why would they be haunted? I guess they could be haunted, but I didn't expect them to always be haunted, right?
Right.
But now that I've grown in this, right? My thought process is this. When somebody passes, you go to the cemetery and you talk to your loved one, right? As you're talking to your loved one, whether your loved one hears you or not, there's all these spirits around that do hear you and they want to communicate with somebody.
Hmm.
So naturally, where people go to talk to spirits, just like these all these haunted venues they go to, if you go there talking to spirits, you're going to draw their spirits, right? So in reality, if every day at 5 o'clock I went out and stood in the middle of my street and I just started talking to spirits or to nobody in general, spirits around are going to hear me and they're going to start coming closer because they want to interact. They've got a message, they've got a purpose, there's something that they want to find out as well. And I truly believe that I could stand there if I did this every day for 10 years, I'm going to have a whole gaggle and this street is the next big paranormal spot on the universe because people don't walk around talking to most people don't walk around talking to spirits.
I'm going to say this. Bravo. And the reason I'm going to say that is I absolutely believe that to be true. Are there known haunted locations?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, we've been told, unless we've been there, I like to live off my own experiences. You can
Hmm.
tell me something's the most haunted place you've ever been there. I can go there and nothing but crickets.
Right.
You know, unfortunately, that's the way it works. But when you speak to spirit energy and spirit energy knows that you can speak to it, it doesn't matter where you are. You
Yeah.
can speak to spirit energy anywhere. And if you're willing to receive, and if you show gratitude, and if you're consistent with it, absolutely. I think one personal opinion, I when people go on an investigation, I think they get too focused on what everybody else has told them's there.
Yes.
I do not. Now, do I know some of the locations that are haunted? Do I know the history of them? Yes. Yesteryear Village, the Riddle House. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Riddle House in West Palm Beach. I've investigated the Riddle House probably 200 times.
Wow.
Made popular by Zach's group of people, whatever. Everybody goes in there. Joseph here. Joseph is angry. Joseph, Joseph, Joseph. I'm like, what about the 16 other people that filter in and out of here on a daily basis? Why are
Yes.
you so focused on Joseph?
Yes.
So when I would go anywhere with a known haunting, uh, anybody else want to have a chat? We're all here. We're sitting here nice and quiet, willing to receive anybody. And I think that that's kind of like one of the biggest things that I don't like is this focused,
Yes.
such restrictive
Yes.
information that nobody else is as valid as whoever this Joseph, you know, everybody else is just as valid. Open yourself up.
Yep.
Talk to
Yep.
whoever wants to talk to you. Develop a storyline from information that you're getting. I've talked to some really interesting characters that may or may not had anything to do with the structure that I was in, but they knew I was willing to listen to their story.
Mhm.
I kind of think that's the important thing about what we do, you
Yes.
know?
It's all the spirits. It's not one or two.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's all of them, you know? It doesn't have to be some, infamous or whatever spirit. It's like, what about Bob? Bob wants to stop by and say hi, and so does Stephanie. You know,
Right.
so yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just if you're willing to receive the information and you're thankful that you've received the information, because I always say you have to give gratitude. You have to be polite, introduce yourself. They want to talk to you, but what's your name? Talk to me. Well, you didn't tell me your name.
Right.
So I always introduce myself. I always try and give gratitude. I say, thank you for speaking to me. Please. All of these,
Yes.
it's energy that matters. And we have to be thankful and considerate of that. Not just
And
like, oh,
we're in their space. If somebody comes to your house, you don't want just anybody walking in and say, "Who are you? What's your name? What are you doing here?" What?
right. And when
You're in
I
my
have had
house.
those
What are
spirit
you doing
energies
here?
come into my house, I've thrown them out. So, yeah, I don't want someone to come disrupting. It's rude. And,
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't like an aggressive, I don't like a provoking, I don't like the, you'll talk to me. Who are you?
No.
I don't like any of that kind of. I think that if we're genuine and thoughtful and considerate, that regardless, am I still going to get someone who's hostile? Sure. Have I been
You would,
called a lot of names? Yes. Have I been told to F off? Sure. That's just Tuesday, but, uh, I'm still going to be thankful. Thanks for telling me to get out. Thanks for telling me
yeah.
to F off. Tell me whatever you want. I don't care. You know, it's all good.
So, Mary Lynn wants to know, how do you distinguish between who is talking to you?
Mary Lynn, that is a fantastic question. If, and I'm going to say again, everybody gets their messages differently. For me, I usually, if I'm working with a client, I usually will get right away whether it's a masculine energy or a feminine energy. So when I'm working with a client, I start out with qualifiers. The person that's come to me is this. Is that who you want to speak to? If they say no, thank you for stopping by. And I do, and I
Right.
literally do a swiping thing. And so then I'll say, no, if that's not their person, then we'll move on to the next person. Because usually there's a lineup of people and I have to get to their person. Sometimes their person, even if it's not someone they wanted to, if this is still their person that came through very strongly, I still have to honor them. I will say, I will give male or female, age, distinguishing physical characteristics. Usually they'll present themselves to me in the way that my client remembers them best.
Mm.
So if they were like a grandma with their hair in a bun, they'll show me that their hair's up in a bun. And usually, grandma usually comes in an apron. I know that's probably outdated, but that's usually how I know it's grandma. That's my thing. Then, if it was a non graphic natural death, I will usually tell them that what their cause of death was. That's how I know I've got the right person. Once I know that we've focused in on the right person, then I will give more details. Then I will ask if there's anything they want to know. That's how I do it in a client-based situation. If it's a haunted location or a residential, a lot of times they will just scream at me and names. I get names at haunted locations far quicker than I get names with an individual client. Don't know why, but
Hmm.
yes. So, or I'll also, there's some distinguishing characteristics. Sometimes I'll never get a name, but I'll get a whole story. And then we'll be able to confirm things that I'm saying either on a spirit box session or an EVP or something like that. But did that answer the question? Sometimes I trail off.
No, I think that was really good. I
Oh,
do.
thank you.
And so the one thing I was going to say to you is, you said you get more names at like haunted locations. Well, you know why you get more names there? Because every single person goes in there and asks for a name, but most of them can't hear the names. So they're so used to saying their names, you're going to know my name. Again,
Probably,
no
probably.
scientific proof behind it, just my brain
Yeah,
and the way
because
that
I'll
it
go in, I'll
works.
go, hey, Frederick. And they're like, who's Frederick? I'm like, I don't know who Frederick is. I haven't talked to him long enough, you know? But yeah, I'll get names that, it's like, hey. And sometimes it's weird because we did an investigation down in Miami. I don't speak Spanish, not a lick. And the names and a lot of information was coming across in Spanish in my head.
Oh,
So I sounded like I was having some sort of seizure trying to sound this guy's name out to everybody else. I'm like, it's something like, I mean, I'm like, say it again, because I'm only getting like a little bit at a time
oh,
because I could not comprehend the whole thing that he was saying because it didn't make sense to me. So
oh my God.
when I replayed that audio for that, I'm like, oh my God, I sound like I'm going through it, but I just couldn't get it. But I was sounding it out and saying, keep saying it until I get the whole word out, you know? Silly
That's
stuff, but
great.
fun stuff.
Mary Lynn, if that didn't answer your question, you have a follow up to it, let us know. So David Alcorn says, my dad passed away 20 years. You know David? You know David, right?
I Its name sounds familiar. Sorry, I'm not the
He's
best.
he's he's down there in Florida as well. So he said,
Oh,
my dad
okay.
passed away
Okay.
20 years ago, and I've never been able to communicate with any info. Please.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you that a lot of times when it's somebody that we really, really want to speak to, our personal people, the biggest thing we do is put pressure on it. So, what I encourage my clients to do, or anybody to do, is don't have an intentional conversation. Have a just random talk conversation to start. In other words, you're mopping your floors, you're folding your laundry, you're putting away your groceries. Just talk. Can you believe the price of eggs? Look at this. I didn't realize I had 3 cans of tomato soup. You're talking to them, and then you'll start to hear them. A lot of times, spirit energy feels the pressure and they don't know what to say. There's unanswered questions. There's things you want to know, and they don't want to know. They're afraid that of the pressure involved. They're afraid of the letdown. They're afraid that they're not going to give you what it is that you want. They're there. And I'm going to tell you, David, I wish that your picture would pop back up. I'm going to tell you, David, there you are. Your dad has communicated with you in the ways that you know. And I'm going to tell you that he moves stuff since you asked, not invading your privacy. So he moves stuff in your house that you wonder how it gets moved. And I'm going to say there's 2 specific pillows. And where's your can opener? So if you kind of think back, he has been communicating with you. I just really think that you're expecting something so profound that you're missing the nuances. So listen and have very non conversations, and you'll hear him. I promise you will hear him because he's there.
So
He's there.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you think that people are looking for a specific thing to hear from somebody, not just so broaden your search, broaden your horizons as far as don't look for this one thing that you want an answer to. Look for smaller things and let it build.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And a lot of
awesome.
people are like, well, they haven't come to me in my dreams. Why does it have to be a dream? Or I want an answer to something and I just want him to say, David, I'm here. That's not how it works. Even with the paranormal investigations, after you've been doing, and I just had this conversation this weekend, after you've been doing this for a long time, it's almost like we feel like we need to up the ante. Unless I get pushed down this flight of stairs, I'm not going to believe there's any hauntings. Unless, we want something and we want something profound. Life is in the minutia. Everything is a series of small energies that stack up. And that's what you're looking for. So I'm not saying lower your expectations, but I am saying lower your expectations. Just talk.
And widen your antenna, right? Take
Just
smaller
talk.
things as yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just
awesome.
talk. They just want
That's
to have
really cool.
conversation too. They don't want to be, you don't want to be put on the spot. Nobody wants to it makes us feel defensive. So a lot of
Mhm.
times when we're screaming out, why won't you talk to me? They're like, why would I? That's a little hostile. So, you
And also,
know,
I am talking to you, but you're not listening.
right. They're like, yeah. So, sometimes we just really have to relax into it and let them know it's a safe space for them to say whatever they want to say. And most of the time, it's not the words you're going to hear first. It's going to be, I feel you close by. It's going to be that familiar smell. And again, in David's case, he hasn't picked up on the can opener being misplaced no less than 35 times in the last 4 years.
Sure.
He always just can't figure out why somebody can't put the can opener back where the can opener goes.
And I was just going to ask him how often he loses his can opener to see what he says, but I'm sure it's a million times.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the things that, unless we attach an energy to it, we just think that we're being, absent-minded or whatever. But, even the things simple as I always put my keys here. Where are my keys? And you look everywhere for them, and then you come back, and they're literally an eighth of an inch from the place that you just looked.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's spirit energy. One, giving you a message that they're there, or two, letting you know just not a good idea. So they're
That is
slowing you
awesome.
down from that traffic accident or or from something else that may not have been a great thing. So,
David, that's because you can't ever find the damn can opener. That's why you never use one. If you could find it, you'd probably use it more often. Oh, I don't know.
yeah, you'll notice that things are moved around a little bit. Just pay
Oh,
attention, David. I promise that he's there. And,
mm,
trying to talk to him on an investigation, probably no. It's quiet moments, it's soft moments, it's safe moments.
that's wild. So I have another burning question.
Okay.
All these places that we go to investigate, if there's a child spirit, there's always a little girl named Sarah. Am I wrong?
No, you're not
Everywhere
wrong.
you go, there's a girl named Sarah. It was like there were three generations of little kids only named Sarah
Yeah.
in this world.
That all died at 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She's a little girl with blonde hair, and she's wearing a white dress.
Always.
And it's, to me, every time I go into a place that somebody says our ghost is Sarah, I roll my eyes.
I appreciate your cynicism because I share it as well. You know,
I think
I'm
it's adorable. I think it's cute, but it's way overdone.
agreed. I
And
absolutely
maybe
agree.
our devices that we use give us the name Sarah. I don't think I've ever gotten the name Sarah in any device I've ever used. Maybe I did once, but I don't remember ever seeing or hearing the word Sarah.
Right. Yeah. I would not say that I am inundated with spirit children named Sarah either, you know. And I think that somebody says something, and then it's like a game of telephone.
Right?
And unfortunately, it becomes fact, which is again why, you could tell me all day long this wonderful, incredible evidence that you've gotten on investigation. And I might ooh and ah and go, ooh, that was awesome, and be really happy for you and really impressed with what you got. But it's not real to me until it's real to me,
Right. Right.
you know, which, I don't know. I mean, I think cynicism, a healthy dose of cynicism, is necessary. I'm not going to believe everything everybody says is evidence.
Yes.
Most of what I see claimed as evidence, I'm like, or smudges on the glass. That's not really a phase. You know, I just experienced that in 2 locations, and I'm like, that's handprints on the glass.
Yeah.
You know,
That was an owl outside, or that was a fox that wasn't really a scream. I mean, there's so many other things that it can be,
absolutely.
and 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 this is kind of the how we met was I wanted to do a podcast. I wanted to do a podcast on debunking, and I wanted to get a bunch of people together for one podcast, and I couldn't get everybody on one, so
Right.
I spread them out all over, and I'm like, we can talk about anything. But
Right.
I the people that I investigate with all try to debunk.
Yes.
And I guess that's why I hang out with them. Um,
Yes.
there are a lot of people that, you know, uh, oh, I just heard a noise. That's a ghost. What?
Yeah.
What?
Or it was Ted upstairs.
Let's go find. Let's go see what it could be. You know,
Right.
and houses and buildings do settle. They do make noise. Maybe a big brick building is not really going to settle, but there's still wood in there. There's still flexible things in there that can sure. Um, but yeah, I don't think that people see all this stuff on TV, and now I want to be a paranormal investigator, and
Oh,
I'm going to go, and most of them are in it for the wrong reason,
agreed.
and they don't take the time to debunk. Um,
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
yes, there are certain things that when they happen, you can't you can't come up with another reason
Right.
as to why. But even then, you can't say that was paranormal.
Absolutely.
You can say that it was unexplained, but we really don't have a way to prove anything's paranormal, right? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. I was just at West Virginia's abandoned amusement park. I was there month before last. Whole big lore to it, whole, a lot. And, you know, we tried. We tried so hard, you know, and the swings will swing all this. And, at one point, my body camera shows that, eh, and I said to the other girl, I said, "Is it moving?" She goes, "It kind of looks like it's moving." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not sold." So, am I debunking? No, but well, am I hopeful? Yes. Is this evidence? No.
yeah,
I mean, I was rooting for it, but Trans Allegheny, I was there within the same week. All, all this stuff that was presented to us as evidence, they probably wouldn't like me saying this. My goal was to debunk what other people said was absolute evidence. The moving balls in the little girl's room. And I walked in there and they're right. These balloons do move. I was like, ooh, let me settle in here because I really, really, there's a vent on the floor that brings air in from the hallway. No air conditioning, but I walked right up to the vent and you could feel airflow through that.
there we
I was
go.
like,
Yeah,
man, you know, so I'm hopeful. I'm enthusiastic. I'm full of gusto, but I'm also not dumb.
right,
You
right.
know, it's airflow and balloons. Doesn't take much for those to move, you
I can
know.
breathe on a balloon and make it move.
Right. And at first I was like, oh yeah, I got some video of this. I'm like, okay, wow, finally. And I'm like, now let's move forward after my excited brain simmered down, you know.
So
Yeah.
that reminds me of another one of my stories. When I was a kid, I lived with my brother and his family. My brother was much older than I am. He had a son that was my age, right? So I was 2 years older than his son. We grew
Okay.
up together like brothers. Okay, so I lived with them for a while, and one day, me and Craig was upstairs in our room. We were doing whatever, and my brother called us downstairs. He's like, "I want to show you guys something." And this house was haunted. I mean, there was somebody living in this house, and I always felt that there was something there. But one time, my nephew mouthed off to his mom, and she put him against the wall, and she slapped the shit out of him, right? Because you could do that back in the day.
That's right.
When she did that, there was only the three of us in the kitchen. All the kitchen cabinets came open, and everything emptied onto the floor. Okay, there was no explaining that. We
Right.
didn't have an earthquake. There was no explaining that. So we knew something was going on in this house. But he called us downstairs. He's like, "I want to show you guys something." And he's got this pencil sitting on the desk. And he's standing there and he's moving his hands around. He's like, "I'm going to concentrate on this pencil. I'm going to make it move." And he's doing this with his hands, and after a couple of minutes, the pencil starts to move just a little bit, and then all of a sudden it starts turning in a circle. And we were like, "Holy crap, that's cool!" So we go back upstairs, and I'm sitting there with this pencil sitting right in the middle of the desk, and I'm concentrating on this pencil, and this pencil starts turning around. And we were like, "Holy crap, we did it!" And so we went down to tell him, and his face turns white. He's like, "Guys, I had the pencil on the edge of the desk, and I was blowing on it just a little bit to move it." Well, we weren't blowing on it because we had the pencil in the middle of the desk and didn't know to blow on it, and that pencil moved. Okay, so
Right.
holy shit. Okay,
Yeah.
that is something that you can't tell me wasn't paranormal because there's no other reason for that thing to be moving.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but we knew that there was something in that house, and I would love to be able to go back to that house to this day and see if these people that live there now have anything happen. But I don't have the guts to go to somebody's house and be like, "Hey,
Knock on the door.
uh,
Yes.
yeah."
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a crazy place. I mean, we also had one time my nephew brought home a book from the book fair. It was called A Ghost Named Fred, and we had always called the ghost Fred. Just That's what we named him. So when he saw the
Right.
book, he bought it. Our daily routine was we would come in, we put our school books on the steps to go upstairs because the whole upstairs was our room. We'd put our
Okay.
stuff on the stairs, we'd change our clothes, and we'd go outside and play football, baseball, whatever we were doing. That we'd go do that immediately. Then we'd come in later and do our homework or whatever. So we did that. When we came back, we took our stuff upstairs, and the book was gone. And we were like asking his mom, did she take the book? Why? But she's like, why would I take your book? No, I didn't take your book. Nobody took the book. We didn't find this book for years,
Ah,
but behind the beds, there was those. It was a slanted ceiling, and there was cupboards behind there just for storage.
right.
We never went in there. That wasn't our stuff. We didn't belong in there. That book was in that when we were moving stuff out. That book was in that closet.
What city did you
I,
say that was? Or
that
what
was
state?
in it's in Ohio, Chippewa Lake, Ohio.
Okay. Do you know where the Bigelow House is in Ohio?
No.
And I can't remember exactly what I wish I could, but it sounds a lot like this house, but it's now owned by the railroad, took it over, or the transportation, and it was part of the Underground Railroad at one time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and
I'm looking up the Bigelow House.
yeah, and that's what um my friend who showed me this house got, and this is I
Well,
can't
that's in
remember how many
Findlay,
years ago
Ohio.
now.
That's
And
not
it was
terribly
three
far from it,
stories.
though.
I'm sorry.
That's not terribly far, but that's not it.
Yeah, I was, but it looked so much like what you were describing in my head. I was
uh,
going to this house, and it was the same thing. There was random, open spaces. He said they were terrified. They knew it was haunted. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did he say Ohio? So funny. Yeah. I actually got to
so
go in it. The railroad was remodeling it or renovating it
wow,
when I went in there, and the door was just not locked. So I just went in. And then the
Wha-
guy showed up. I'm like, oh, hi. And he let me look around. So it was kind of cool.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had all these things that on the I told you the wall, the ceilings were slanted, and the beds would lay back underneath there, so that you'd have the slanted wall. And in all these different places, that wall was had wallpapering on it, and there was 3 or 4 different spots that the wallpaper was torn out, and they looked like cats. There was 3 of them. They looked like cats.
Huh.
And then we would always have like random cats show up outside at the house. And I'm like, what's up with cats? But everywhere we turned, it was here's another good one. That same house, we're upstairs. My nephew, it was the middle of winter. My nephew had a cold. We were sitting there playing the video games, right? Next to the TV, he had a clothes hamper with clean clothes, and on top of it was some folded towels. Well, he blew his nose in a Kleenex, and right next to that Kleenex was a garbage can. He threw the Kleenex at the garbage can and missed, and it landed on top of those towels, and it landed right in the center. Okay, and we just kind of like, yeah, whatever, we'll get it later. We kept playing. All of a sudden, that Kleenex goes up in the air, over and into the garbage can. I looked at him. He looked at me, and we're like, "What the hell?" And we beat feet out of there. We just had a lot of, and we were young, maybe 14, 15, you
Right.
know, and I think that's the only thing that ever really startled us. But
Right.
we were back up there like 15 minutes. We're like, Fred, don't do that, man. You'll freak us out, you know.
Right.
But there was always things that happened in there that there was no explanation for.
Oh
And
yeah.
that time that we moved that pencil, my brother's like, you could just see it in his face. He was terrified. He's like, guys, I had it on the edge of the table and I was blowing on it. Well, we weren't doing that.
Nope. You had some help. You had some help.
And that's where most of this started for me. I mean, we had something in the house and we just accepted it. I mean, it wasn't scary. It wasn't mean, and there for a while because of all the cats, we thought it was a cat.
Right.
And maybe it was a cat. I don't know how a cat would carry a book up the steps and hide it in a closet,
But yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah.
but if it's drawing itself in the wallpaper, I mean, a cat could have knocked that tissue off of there. A cat could have spun a pencil. I don't know.
You didn't see a cat.
The cat did not empty all the cabinet doors in the kitchen, though.
No, it did not.
It would have had to
No,
have
it
been a
did
whole
not.
bunch of them.
Yeah, a whole herd of cats. And Lord knows you can't get a whole bunch of you can't herd cats. You can't get them to all agree on one thing at the same time.
So Mary says Ohio is very haunted. Yeah, I we go to we're in Pittsburgh. We go to Ohio all the time because some of the best places I've ever been are in Ohio.
Right. Yeah, the Bigelow houses, I was up there. I can't even remember the reason I was up there, but it was long before I was even doing paranormal investigations. And I remember pulling up to this house. My ex-boyfriend, my boyfriend at the time, lived there as a kid, and he was trying to show me, around the places that he grew up in, all that kind of stuff. And I remember pulling up to that house and thinking, oh my God, I love it here. I didn't know why I thought that I loved it there. It was old and probably creepy to anybody else, but to me, it was just beautiful and just magnetic. And I just wanted to see all of it. And he said we never went in the basement because the basement was too scary for us. And like through the room, there was also this other crawl space, and I don't know if it led up to an attic or something. And he said we used to hide up there. He said, but that was scary. He said we were always scared. We always thought you know, that people were moving around us. And, I don't remember exact words that he used. And I was thinking, ooh, cool, you know, but still had no idea why I even thought that because my life at all, but energetically it was saying hi. And I was like, yay, I love you.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
the spirits of you, they really do want to communicate with us, but most of us don't know how to do it. I mean, we
agreed.
try, we try, we do, we try. I think a lot of people have their heart in the right place, and every once in a while we get lucky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe that they want to communicate too. I believe that their story is not over. Energy is energy. You just can't make it go away.
Right,
Doesn't cease to exist. So, even the logical part of my brain says, well, if energy vibrates, then the vibrations are still around. And if vibration gets translated into hearing and feeling and sensing, then how can it not?
right.
So, I'm sure there's some, person out there that's a lot smarter than me. They go, well, you missed a part of that, but that's okay. I know what
Oh,
my belief system is, and I know what I've experienced, and the things that I have genuinely experienced. No one would ever be able to convince me that those didn't exist. No one will ever convince me that I didn't have moments with spirit energy. Never
yep.
be able to convince me that I didn't see what I've seen, feel what I felt. I've been touched, I've been scratched, I've been pushed, I've been all of those really cool things that we all want to experience. No one will ever be able to convince me that something wasn't there when it happened.
Yep. I'm with you. I'm with
Yeah,
you. And I think that at least for me and my group, we go on investigations and we always do lives, right? And that's more for the people who are interested in it but won't go or
right.
can't go. Because we want people to enjoy what we do. Like we don't make money off of Facebook. I tell a story all the time. We have 3 subscribers to our page. People pay 99 cents a month to be on our page and get special things. And we've sent them all T-shirts or something worth way more than their 99 cents.
Right.
but Facebook gets half of that $3, so we make $1.50 every month, getting rich off of that.
I
But
know.
what we what we do is we bring people along that can't go, right? We bring something to them that either they can't go or they're like, I like to see it, but I'm not going there, and that's cool,
Right.
right? And the podcast is for people to meet other people. Hey guys, check out this person that you guys follow me, and here's somebody that you haven't met before, and somehow we have somewhere around 7,500 followers. In 2 years, I don't know how we come up with this many followers. We don't ask people to follow us. We don't beg. We just put out whatever content we feel is appropriate. I don't put up a bunch of stuff that I claim as evidence. Okay, if there's something cool and I want people's opinion, I'll put it up, right? But my paranormal experiences are for me, and
Right.
I don't need anybody else's approval or saying, "Yep, that was paranormal." I don't need anybody else to tell me that. I felt it, I
Right.
witnessed it, and that is all the approval I need. If somebody was with me and they witnessed it, cool.
Right.
Maybe we got it on camera, maybe we didn't get it on camera. At the end of the day, none of that matters except for the experience that I lived through.
Right.
And when somebody posts something and they say, "Oh, this is what I saw," I'll look at it and I won't ever go say, "Nope, you're wrong. That's not this. That's this. It could be this." I don't do that to people. I just look at it, take it for what it's worth. You had an experience. I'm not taking that experience away from you.
Right. Right.
And
And I
I
say that to people.
think that
When people say, well, do you think this could have been this? Or do you believe in this? Orbs is a big one that people say, do you believe in orbs? And my response is always, listen, could it be a burst of energy that reflects as a light source? Absolutely. Do I firmly believe that all these orbs that people show everywhere? No. But if it made you feel a certain way and it made you think my grandfather was speaking to me, that's all that matters. Period.
that's yes, yes, and I think that too many people are out there just for clicks, right? I want clicks. I
Yeah.
want people to share my video. I want to be viral. I don't want to be viral. I want to give something to here's my sister. She can't go all the time. She lives in Ohio, and I started this podcast for her because she wants to interact. She wants to meet people. And so this is some of it was for me. It's not all for her, but she's a big reason that I started to do this, right? I
Right.
mean, and it's cool, and I get to meet people. So and Mary, she's
Yeah.
another Florida person. She watches our investigation, and well, I appreciate the hell out of it. And Mary's helped me through a couple of things as well. She's what's he call herself? Just a watcher. She has gifts, and maybe she doesn't say she's got them or whatever this, but I mean, she's definitely helped me with some stuff. So you get people that watch and can help you, and you're giving back. I mean, I think that's why we do this, and I don't
Right.
think everybody else should do that. But that's the reason that I do this is I want to share the experiences with people that can't go to this place or want to go to this place or maybe is on the edge about I might go there, but if I can help somebody say yes, they definitely want to go to this place. Cool. That's what I want to do is I want to share the damn love. I don't want everybody
Yeah.
to say, "Oh, look at him, look at him, look at him." But now it seems like everywhere I go, everybody knows me now, right? Um, and I am nobody. Literally, I am nobody. I'm just somebody that has too much time in their hands and wants to do all these different things, right? But it's just about giving something to the community that isn't trash because there's a
I
lot of it
agree.
out there.
Yeah. And
There's a
I
lot of it
post
out there.
on my socials. My socials are very active, but my socials are based on, number one, my business. I post a lot of metaphysical stuff, spirit animals, helping people to understand, a little bit of astrology, that kind of stuff. And I do have a paranormal content to my page because I'm also a paranormal investigator that I post, depends on how active I've been and whatever. But I've
Mhm.
never gone out there and go, oh, listen, 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 you know, picture of this, evidence. No, I post the pictures, the videos, and a lot of that you'll see the same thing, you know. Can you please move the swing? It's real boring. You know, I have a video that I have cut down to 15 minutes. We were on site with body cam for 8 hours.
Yes.
I have
Yeah.
15 minutes of something that's okay. You know, other than it's an interesting place, other than it's super, super creepy, it's, no. And I think that especially when people come to events, because we used to host events monthly, and people come and they want to be TV sensationalized. No, that's not how this works. They want to be, they want us to script. No, I'm not, no, no. I have never run from any location. I have one time walked briskly. I'm not going to lie, but I have never run. A couple of times I've been caught off guard by something when I had my ankle grabbed at a location while I was sitting on the edge of it startled me. Did it scare me? No, but it would have startled me if a lizard ran across my foot and I
Right.
wasn't expecting it.
Right. You got
I
got a
was
rise out of
startled.
you.
Yeah. But yeah, if you expect me to go running and screaming, why am I here?
Yeah.
What are we
Well,
doing
see,
here?
that's I want something to scare me. I want
Me
something
too.
to give me that charge that I want to run out of there. I probably still won't run out, but I want to feel like I want to run out, right?
Me
Um,
too. Me too. And that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. I want that you can't dispute it.
yes.
Somebody watched you standing there and get shoved. Somebody watched your hair get pulled. Somebody saw, you know, and I've had some really cool experiences that I can't even explain. You know, one of them is, garlic guy, and I won't go into that story because it's very long. But I got garlic splooged out of nowhere in a place that the whole story is on. I don't know if he's in my book or if he's on my website, but he's somewhere. Garlic guy. It was one of the most incredible things,
Oh,
and it has a funny content to it too because I say some really weird shit. Sorry, it's really weird
you're fine.
stuff.
You're fine.
And, I've had really cool stuff happen to me, and I want to continue to have really cool stuff. But I unfortunately think that the people that are showing nothing but sensationalized, overhyped up stuff is a disservice to the laborious hours that we
Mhm.
sit there twiddling our thumbs and having the most ridiculous conversations with people.
But I wouldn't trade him for the world.
But really, I mean, I've played back the video and I've said to myself, this is the most ridiculous conversation I've ever had. But it's 3 in the morning. Have another Celsius, not sponsored, but should be. Yeah.
So we were at um,
I'm going to go
OSR,
off
Ohio State.
camera for 12 seconds only because my battery's about to die and I need to plug it to the wall real quick.
Oh,
I
go
can
ahead.
hear you though. Keep talking.
Okay. So we went to OSR last fall, and we were in the Jesus room. And it was a public, so we went, and as we went around, some young people wanted to follow along with us. And
Okay.
so we're like, yeah, sure, come on. And so at one point, we had these two young girls with us, early 20s. They were not kids, but I always call them kids.
Right.
Um, but they were with us, and they were really nice girls. And so the way the room was set up, there was rows of chairs, but it was split down the center. So there's a
Okay.
bunch of chairs, a walkway, some more chairs, and me and this one girl, we sat on either side of the one front row in chairs. The second row was like theater seating, but it wasn't bolted to the ground.
Okay.
And Deb and the other girl sat in the same section of chairs behind the other girl. And we're in this room for probably half an hour, not much going on. Then we started hearing noises. And I'm like, where's that coming from? Deb's like, oh, it's up in the front left. Okay, so I get out of my chair and I'm looking around the room trying to track what we're hearing. And all of a sudden, there was a huge commotion and there were screams. And the only thing I can describe the commotion from was there was a bunch of debris on the floor, and it was like somebody running through scattered rocks. And then there was some type of a collision. As I spin around, Deb and this girl were sitting in this stadium seating. Something came up behind them, hit the stadium seating so far, it pushed them up to a standing position, and the chairs came crashing back to the ground. Now,
Love that.
neither one of them are small girls, okay? So
Right.
something hit this with a lot of power.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, we are like, the four of us are together in a circle, back to back, looking around, right? And the one girl that was sitting in the row with me, she looks and she's like, look back in the back of the room. And there's a black shadow that looks like it's got its arm crossed. And it's just kind of like, uh-huh, you mess with me. And then it was gone.
Right.
I have never encountered anything that had that kind of energy that could push two people to stand up.
Yeah. That's a lot of
Deb was
energy.
Deb was ready to bolt. I mean, but she had no idea where the hell we were and how to get out. So she didn't run. The other girl was so stunned she didn't know what the hell was going on. And me and the other girl, we were just kind of like bystanders. So maybe we were like a little, wow, what the hell's going on? But we weren't affected the way these two were.
Right.
And so, but I could feel their fear.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like a rush as well that I've never felt since then. But the energy that took was out of this world. I mean, there
Yeah.
is nothing that I have I can compare with that.
Yeah.
And
No,
it
me
was
either.
just so surreal at the time, and it was like you think back and like, did that even happen? Well, yeah, it happened because we were all there, and it's just something that it's probably a once in a lifetime. We'll probably never experience anything like that again.
Yeah.
We were there again. We went to that room. We had nothing happen at all.
Yeah. That's the part that I don't think a lot of people understand, that we really are sitting in either really cold, or I'm in Florida, really hot, mosquitoes. We're fighting some elements here, lugging equipment,
Yes.
testing equipment, lugging equipment, all this kind of stuff, and snacks, because Lord knows we need snacks. We're going to sit
Right.
out there all night without some sort of snacks, and sitting there begging, praying, hoping, all of these things, something. And it could be hours of zero. I have been in some of
Yeah.
what people claim the most haunted places
Yeah, nothing.
with zero.
Yeah. Yeah. And it happens. It just
It
happens.
absolutely does. Absolutely does. I wish I knew why. I wish I
Yeah.
knew if, something to do differently, but, I think also, and I have a theory, once again, my theory. I think some of these notoriously haunted places are getting investigated out of their hauntings. Every person that walks
I
in
could believe that as well.
takes a little bit of that energy, displaces a little bit of that energy. That's just my theory, because I've been to some of the most haunted
I,
places, and I'm like, I'll go to the local cemetery that's literally, I could almost throw a rock and have a lot more activity than those notoriously famously haunted places that I drove 15 hours to get to and spent $125 to get into, you know.
yes. Yes.
So I think that we're over investigating some of these locations that energy is leaving, or it's fed up and like, could y'all leave so I can get some quiet?
And that's what I was just going to say. Fed up because you have these people that go in there and demand the spirits talk to them and torment them, and you know they're not doing it for the right reasons, and they're just like, you know what, we're tired of even bothering with you guys. Leave us
Right.
alone.
Yeah. And when you parade, some of these locations on any given weekend have now paraded hundreds of people through these locations,
Yes.
hundreds. And, they're just like, "Ugh, I'm just going to sit over here until everybody's gone. This is just not worth my time."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
intimacy of it is gone in these locations. The realness of it is gone. And it's unfortunate, but I really feel that that's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with a lot of that. I think that the TV shows had made everybody think that they could and should do this. And
Yes.
it's like everything in life, it's not for everybody. Um,
No, no, it's not. And I think that,
and
all
unfortunately,
this equipment too is messing with it can mess with the energy as well.
I believe that as well. I believe that as well. Says the guy with, I can't even tell you how much equipment we have. Thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. And we just went, I told you we just went to Penner's this weekend, and I pulled out the tripwire and a spirit box, and that's all I used all night.
When I went to Waverly, I used a flashlight and lip gloss. That was it. There was no
Lip gloss.
need. Yes, I always have lip gloss. That's why I say my paranormal gear is lip gloss. I'm a medium. It's up to y'all to collect the rest of the evidence. I'm usually there, which is and most of the time I forget the flashlight too. Now I have gotten, a little more equipment, especially because most of the time I'm just with one other person. So, not up to, she can't carry all of it. Um, but so I do have a little more equipment, but for the most part, it's flashlight and a lip gloss. And when we were at Waverly, I needed nothing. Nothing. We only did an Estes later in the evening just because we were too tired to continue walking. But for the most part, we didn't need a spirit box. We didn't do any EVP. We did nothing but watch in absolute beautiful amazement. That was all we needed. We weren't parading around for pictures. We weren't videotaping. And I've suggested anybody that go there to leave it all downstairs. If you want to videotape, fine. Do that at the end of the night after you've seen how amazing the experience could be. Then go get your stuff for your content or whatever. But it was just too beautiful to even worry about equipment. It really was.
Wow. So I have one more question for you, and then we'll
Okay.
we'll wrap it up because we're closing in on 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
I'm really good at. I tell everybody an hour, but we never. I think the last one I had we ran like 2.5 hours. I'm like, we've got to get off of here.
Yeah.
But this is a theory that a lot of my friends have shared, and I don't do it enough to know if this is true or not. But the claim is that the spirits are more active when it's cold. Like in a building that is freezing cold, the spirits are more active than they are when it's warmer or hot. And
I would say
I
that, yeah, I have not had that experience. I think
hmm,
anecdotally, their logic is probably good because more static, right? Static electricity allows easier communication, right?
maybe, yeah, maybe, maybe.
So, but yeah, I listen, I live in Florida.
So yeah, cold down there is like 68. Yeah, I know.
Right, exactly. So, I would say that, cold weather, extra static electricity, I can see where that could be a theory that you could probably get some anecdotal information on. But to be honest with you, I don't know that it matters. You know, with really humid temperatures, I could see where it'd be easier to see things though, because
Yes,
it's heavier.
yes, yes.
So, I don't know. I think, I got 68 and 147. Those are, you know,
Yes. So the other night when we were at Penhurst, me and Ryan were down in the basement of Tinicum, which they just opened this building for investigations the night before. So she
okay.
said we were like the second group to ever go in there. And him and I had a lot going on down there. But it was raining a little bit outside. And when we first went in the first part of the basement, everything was crystal clear. And then all of a sudden, the whole room fogged up. And we walked back to the next room, and there was no fog. And we walked back to the third room, and there was no fog. And so as we stood outside the foggy room, we see a head peek around the door. And Ryan was like, that wasn't like a shadow. That was like a person. Well, yeah, but because the fog, I believe that's what enabled us to see it.
Right.
Within like 10 minutes, that fog in that room was gone, and it was in the very back room where we were, and it never appeared in the room between.
Hmm.
And we saw things moving in there. And actually, I don't know if I actually caught it on camera, but I'm standing there and something moved and caught my eye. And I said, what was that? And just then it moved toward our tripwires, and the tripwire just lit up all different colors.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's validation that I did see something, but it was foggy. So that probably helped me see that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely did. And, foggy because of coolness, you know, extra heavy humidity air, I guess, I don't know.
And I'm wondering, was it us that triggered the fog, being that maybe it was cooler in the area and we have warm bodies, but these rooms are big, and like I said, that
Yeah,
middle room never really got foggy, but it kind of followed us to the back room. And then as we were leaving, the front room became foggy, and when we came back, the front room was still foggy. And we came
right,
back like 2 hours later. And then as we moved to the back, it started filling up in the back again. So I'm not claiming that it was anything other than it was odd that the fog seemed to follow us around the room.
right. Yeah, I don't think that
Right.
your body could create fog in that big of a space.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it's. I have a large body, but it's not that large.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
and here's one other weird thing that happened at
okay.
the very end of the night in that same foggy room. We were wrapping up, and I bent over to pick up my tripwire. And the next thing I know, I am on the floor. And I am pretty damn steady on my feet, okay? And I'm not saying I felt anything push me, but how the hell did I? And when I hit the floor, I just sat there and laughed. And everybody's like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "I'm on my face right now. It's dark and nobody can see me, but I was right in front of the camera, so I have to go back and look at the camera." Um, but I'm like, I just hit the floor, and there was no reason for me to hit the floor.
Listen, I was at a location that I swear I must have tripped over nothing, no less than 15 times. It was like I was drunk. I just would just fall over. And it's like, so I think that we can get energetically kind of thrown off. You didn't feel a push, but energetically, you might have just been,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, Deb had that happen to her before in another place, and she was going from room to room, and just boom, she went down. And we went back and watched the camera. She's like, I didn't just fall. Well, I don't think you did either. I think somebody pushed you or tripped you or whatever. But looking at the camera, we didn't see anything different. But
Right.
we're not typically people that just fall down.
Right.
Number
Right.
one,
Me
I'm
either.
too damn big to
Yeah.
get back up. So, I had to have somebody actually help me up because otherwise I might still be on the floor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I could see different scenarios where energy could help in certain, the fog could definitely lead to the humidity could definitely lead to be able to seeing shadows or movement. Maybe cold would definitely amp up the static electricity. I could see that how it could affect things, but I don't know if one is better than the other.
Yeah. I don't really know that one's better than the other either. I've been to Waverly when it was really cold. I was actually just 2 weeks ago, I was just at Custer's house. So I just did a bunch. I was just in North and South Dakota and did a lot of kind of interesting
Wow.
things there. And it was cold. I'm telling you, it was cold. It was cold and it was rainy. Um, but then I came back and last Saturday night, I was out in Belle Glade, which is kind of like, we'll just say a swampy area with mosquitoes the size of pterodactyls. They could carry off a small cow. These things are so big. And with the humidity out there versus that, so I experienced both in about a 2 week period of time. And I think that if they want to come out, they'll figure out a way. They'll give you a cool spot so you can see it if it's too hot, and they'll give you a warm spot if they need to see if they need to do that. So I don't know which one's better.
Right.
I would say
I think
they're,
they both have advantages
yeah,
for sure.
yep.
For sure. Well, before we roll here, tell everybody where they can find you.
Angie Spiritual Readings .com is my website. I also have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Angie Spiritual Readings. My book is also available. That's not it. I probably don't even have a copy of it here. Oh, look at that on Amazon if you'd
Awesome.
like to check that out. It's a super easy read. This is not meant to be overcomplicated. Just kind of tells how I got to where I'm going, where I was, and a few of the situations that I found myself in. And some are funny, some are funnier, you know. Um, so and yeah, and if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can certainly do that through my Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, or my website all has my contact information on it. But, other than that, thank you. Thanks, Donna.
And do you have anything coming up that you're going to?
Actually, then no. Um, what am I going to next? I'm tentatively going down to Key West. That's a hope, but I don't have anything booked right now. So I kind of did a little bit of, traveling around already, and we'll kind of see how it goes. Almost every weekend, I go somewhere, even if it's just me and my paranormal bestie that are in the group together. Her and I sometimes just go sit in cemeteries half the night, hoping to not be attacked by a wild boar. I haven't run from
That's
a ghost, but
awesome.
I did work very quickly away from what appeared to be a wild boar coming out of the
Yeah.
woods at us. We're like, well, we'll just go get in the car. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
wouldn't mess with a wild boar either. No way.
No, no, no.
No
They eat
way.
everything, including bones and teeth. So, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yes. Yes. They're very angry creatures.
Yes, they are.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you. This was really, really good.
Well, thank you.
Again, we're at 2 hours, and we could sit here for another hour or two, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But I appreciate you giving me your time,
I appreciate you
and
taking
I
it
would
and giving me your time.
I would love to ask you back on again 6 months from now, whenever. I mean, it's an open door. Whenever you want to come back, yell. I'll get you. I'd love to have you scheduled again. was a really good podcast, and
Thank
I
you.
know I learned quite a bit. So I imagine everybody else probably learned some stuff as well. And I think that that's a big deal when you're doing stuff like this. It's
I really
sometimes it's
appreciate that. And anytime you need a guest, reach out. I will make time for you.
awesome. I
I
can't
appreciate
wait.
that.
We definitely have to do it again. And I think Ryan told me at one point, he's like, dude, you got to get some mediums on there. He said, people will love them. And, I told you, I was just like, yeah, whatever. But over the last few weeks, I've got to meet some, and my fondness for mediums and spiritualists have really grown. And I'm like, okay, I will put this phobia away that I have and move forward. And I know I'll find way more honest people than I have previously. So
Yes.
we're going to keep trucking. So, and if you
Good.
ever have any suggestions of somebody you want to see on the podcast, throw that out to me too, because, and that goes for those of you that watch. If you see somebody that you want to know more about, tell me and I'll try to get them. I mean, it's not just for me to talk to people. It's for everybody to talk to people. And we didn't have a million questions, but boy, we had some good ones
I
for
agree.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. So the outro is about a minute and a half. No, it's almost 2 minutes, and it's just music. You don't have to stay around for that.
Okay.
But I thank you so much. I had a blast doing this,
So did
and
I. Thank you for
obviously,
having me.
any time, as I said. And
Okay.
have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Good night, everybody. Thank
Take
you for welcoming me.
take care.
Good night.
You're not alone. Midnight signal breaking through the noise. Shadows got a voice. You don't got a choice. We dive in.